Hello, everyone. Today's webinar is about FinOps in the AI era, about trends and how to live in this world which is changing so fast. Our guests, our experts are Yuri Prihodko, who's Principal Technical Account Manager and Cloud Intelligence Dashboards Lead, and Roman Gorgi, who's Head of Cloud, AI and Data at Anderson. Let's start right in. When I was getting ready to the meeting, I was pulling some numbers, and I want to share just one of them. 29% is the wasted cloud spent recently, according to Flexera, and according to other reports, numbers were similar. So it's about a decade of FinOps. One of the main goals of FinOps are cost optimization. So it's not that I'm blaming anyone who's present in here, but Yuri, what's going on?
Yeah, hi everyone, and thanks for having me, by the way. So I think that number is actually quite interesting. I keep an eye on that number in Flexera state of FinOps reports every year, and I think it doesn't change much. And the reasons behind are quite interesting. From one side, we see that FinOps as a discipline matures every year, right? We have a very strong community. The tooling is improving. However, from other side, the complexity outpaces the discipline. And what I mean by that cloud services, they basically grow and scale in terms of different pricing dimensions, in terms of new services, so fast that basically for the whole community or for FinOps practitioners, it becomes quite challenging to catch up with all that. If you look at how FinOps landscape maybe like 10 years ago, it was a bunch of services like EC2, S3, maybe like RDS, and they had even within those services way less pricing options. Today, we have like way more services, way more pricing dimensions. So it all requires continuous knowledge and continuous improvements. And I usually say FinOps never ends because of that, because technology evolves and the need for FinOps evolves as well. Another interesting angle to this is that it's quite obvious that in the cloud, cost is operational metric. It's not CapEx, it's OpEx, it's operational metric. And organizations don't really treat cost as operational metric. And it's quite often that I see that cost is not yet in many organizations part of non-functional requirements where it should be. Cost is not in the engineering discussions of planning. Cost is not in the operational metrics which people look at, like performance, availability, and stuff like that. It should be there. It should become there. It's vital part of basically your technology cycle and technology metrics. And I think basically more attention goes to cost on these early stages on design and planning would allow to actually reduce that waste in the future.
It sounds like the immortal Alice from Wonderland told once that you have to run twice as fast just to stay at the same place. Okay, so maybe you have recommendations or just share your point of view, which trends in FinOps we should be following now, what is more significant right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Like at the moment, of course, everyone talks about AI, right? AI is big disruptor for every area of pretty much every business. So AI cost management becoming a new frontier from my observation. And it's actually exposing the limits of traditional FinOps. And it brings basically a lot of interesting angles and challenges to today's FinOps. And the thing is that like it brings new obviously pricing dimensions like tokens, or those credits, users hours and things like that. So it all becomes quite complex to manage, and that's why everybody is now try to be on top of how to effectively manage AI spend, because AI spend grows. Discussions about AI are actually go beyond the traditional infrastructural discussions, which were sitting usually within CTO or CIO, because mostly like engineers were deploying those cloud resources, and basically incurring the cloud costs. With AI, you get your consumers of cloud resources pretty much everywhere in the organization. It's not just the engineering teams, it's also financial teams, it's also legal, it's also HR, it's pretty much every part of business started to use AI. And those FinOps for AI discussions and topics go actually they go up, they go to CEO level. And that's why I think it's like AI for FinOps and FinOps for AI brings a lot of new interesting challenges, but also a lot of new interesting opportunities for FinOps practitioners and FinOps community in general, because basically now we all, and FinOps as a discipline, becomes a frontier of making sure that AI as a, as a approach to many different domains and business problems actually cost effective and actually makes business case to be successful, right?
Okay, then my next question to Raman, as you've already mentioned, AI, of course, organizations. What are the common or not so common challenges that they have, that they face when they trying to manage costs for generative AI? And another question, what makes it different from traditional cloud cost management?
Yeah, it's a great question, and there are several things here. First of all, cost of AI and cost of using the LLM models is driven by consumption that you cannot easily see or predict, meaning that over a long prompt or putting everything into the context window of an LLM can trigger additional costs that you incur, and that's not that easy to track and monitor, because every user may consume 1x amount of token, and another user can consume 10x amount of token depending on their usage pattern. Then the second is attribution is hard. So if you are utilizing the single API to get access to your model, that blends all together, all the features, all the teams, and you have to have a certain solutions that allows you to attribute the cost per team, per user, or per feature. And the trade-off between the quality and the cost is different from a traditional cloud computing, because in traditional cloud computing you can say, well, we are downscaling the resources and it affects only performance. But in case of the using AI and LLM models, it's not like that. So you can go to the simpler model, you can trim the context, so you can trim the prompt, but it also will affect the quality of the response. And this is not something that you can predict live. So you have to be able to not only do it once, but iterate and based on the cost factors. So meaning fine tune the prompt, do the prompt caching, and other methodologies that exist in the toolbox today. It also makes it hard to predict, because you may not know that how the user is going to behave in a certain period of time, and it will affect your cost as well. So those are the main areas where the organization struggle today. It's the predictability of the cost, and the unit of cost is unintuitive, right? If in traditional cloud computing you have gigabyte per hour or CPU hour, and this is a very deterministic metric. In AI systems, metric is a token, and it varies greatly from language to language. It depends on the prompt design, on the model choice, so how long is the answer from the model and things like that. So it's not only the infrastructure, but the behavior of users as well.
And what about tooling? What is available? What is hot today for FinOps engineers and with AI in particular?
Yeah. Well, the tooling that, for example, AWS provides, like Cost Optimization Hub, budgets, AWS Cost Explorer, they do exist, and they continue work for AI workloads as well. They are not going anywhere, and they help to solve challenges with the cost allocations, with the tagging and the right sizing and things like that. But there are also AI cost controls that are specific for AI. So, for example, AWS Bedrock supports what's called application inference profile to solve the challenge with the attribution of the cost per team or per application, and then also utilize the prompt caching. So the general FinOps platform indeed continues to work, but it requires enhancements to handle the challenges with the behavior of LLMs and behavior of the users. So another example also of AWS provided solution, that's of course cloud intelligence dashboards that are using this capability and have the embedded mechanics and visualization for that.
So yes, cost intelligence dashboards. Is it helpful for FinOps, for AI to track costs, Yuri?
Yeah, we actually just recently, a few weeks ago, launched many new FinOps for AI-related capabilities in one of our most popular dashboards, which is called Kudos. But before I go into that, let me quickly get everyone up to speed. What is Cloud Intelligence Dashboards, maybe for people who are not very familiar with that. So Cloud Intelligence Dashboards, it's a collection of dashboards for FinOps and also cloud operations, which built by different field SMEs and experts into optimizations and data presentations, like technical account managers, solution architects, service teams, product managers, and engineers. So we built this all dashboards together, and it was a goal to help customers to visualize the cost in the most effective way, and also provide customers a self-service tool. So all these dashboards are pre-built and available for every customer to deploy in their accounts and basically use as a self-service tool in Amazon Quick. And all these dashboards available in AWS Solutions Library if you search for Cloud Intelligence Dashboards. And once you deploy them, you can basically get very comprehensive insights into your cost and usage. As for AI, we recently added in one of our dashboards, which is called Kudos, we added a lot of new things. First of all, Bedrock cost attribution by IAM principle. It's a very new feature which actually allows you not just tag your Bedrock consumption by inference profile, what Roman mentioned, but also to tag your Bedrock usage by IAM users or IAM roles who actually make those Bedrock API calls, and also IAM sessions. So even if you have one single IAM role, one single inference profile, today you can actually attribute your costs by just tagging your IAM sessions, and you can use it for attribution for cost per tenant or cost per maybe some application and stuff like that, which is really, really powerful. And we actually allow to bring all those tags to Kudos dashboard and visualize your cost per those different taxonomy dimensions. We also brought new things like cost per million tokens to track efficiency, to actually understand where your cost per token goes to. Another thing is ability to see your cost in a very clear and easy to understand way, because the challenge is that in Cost Explorer, if you go and check your Bedrock spend, first of all, third-party models built as AWS Marketplace, first-party models provided by Amazon as Amazon Bedrock service. So you need to basically know how to tweak the filters and stuff. And also in Cost Explorer, you cannot see the usage, you cannot see the tokens. So our goal here to actually provide in very easy to understand way, one single place where you can actually look at your Bedrock spend and see where you're heading to in terms of your which optimization opportunities you're using and how your cost per million tokens looks like. Let's have a look how it works in real life. So let me show you a Kudos dashboard, and here we have AI/ML tab, along with many other different tabs and visibility for other AWS services. So for AI services, you want to go to AI ML tab, and here we have a Bedrock summary section. And first, it has some cost optimization recommendations provided here and some very useful links. But then you can actually start looking at your Bedrock spend by different dimensions. For example, you can see your Bedrock spend month over month by account. You can also switch for different dimensions, like, for example, your spend per model. And we also provide, as I mentioned here, this blue line, which is quite important. It's cost per million tokens, which is the metric itself. Like those kind of metrics, I call them like directional KPIs or directional metrics, because if you look at your cost per million tokens just as one point in time, it's hard to say whether you cost effective or not, right? It's just $7. So what? But if you look at over time, right, you could see that, oh, our cost per million tokens increased. And then playing with all those different dimensions, you could see that, oh, the reason why it increased probably because we started to use Claude 4.5 Sonnet model more, right, compared to Haiku. And so the ratio of this is increased. Yeah, and you can actually dive into many different other dimensions here to reason about your cost and actually dive deeper why your cost per million tokens increased. Along with that, we actually added support of this IAM principal tags. So for example, now you can see your Bedrock spend by tags which you're actually using. For example, I'm using one of the tags, I'm using tag application. So now, as you can see, historically, I was not able to tag my sessions, IAM sessions or IAM roles and bring those tags to cost and usage report and to the dashboard. But now, since just the beginning of June, it's possible to do, and I can see my cost per different applications. Now, if I want to drill down into details of particular application like Doc Summarizer, I can just simply click on it, and then the rest of the visuals will be filtered based on my selection. So first of all, I could see then spend per pricing model. So my Doc Summarizer application uses only on-demand inference. The question is why we are not using batch inference, right? So we don't see any batch usage. So batch inference gives you up to 50% lower price. So for things like for applications which doesn't require real-time inference, batch inference is a most cost-effective way to run your things like summarization and offline inference, or not a real-time inference. Then you could also see your spend for this application by usage type group. So we can see that we started to use some caching. We have cache read, cache writes, input tokens, and then so basically all your spend is categorized by this subcategories, which are actually very easy to understand. They are very aligned to pricing pages. And you can switch from monthly to daily view, as I did now. And you could see that, oh, we started to use actually caching, and we started to use it on June 2029, right? So we have some quite significant amount of cache read input tokens. But overall cost kind of increased for this application on the same date. So let's dive a bit deeper. There are a few other visuals which customers may find very useful. So it's cost per million tokens, but now per model, right? So in this case, we use only Haiku 4.5 for this application. So that's first insight. And then second insight, we could see that our cost per million tokens by model in this application significantly reduced, right? And the reason for that, actually, because we started to use caching. And as you can see, so now it used to be like $4.8 per million tokens. And if you hover on in the tooltip, you could see that the usage quantity, it was like around 500,000 tokens per day. And then when the cost per million tokens decreased, our usage quantity was 4.5 million tokens, right? So we increase quite significantly amount of usage, right? But our cost went way less proportionally up. So we became more cost effective, and that's what is reflected in cost per million tokens. So we actually managed to reduce cost per million token, and that's how we can track it and see over time. There are other things which you could see here if you, for example, switch to your cost per environment, for example, and you want to look how my Bedrock spend looks like for my prod. And you can actually, again, select just with one single click, select your dimension which you want to focus on, and then you could see again which models you use for production. And now we can see two models here, Sonnet 4.5 and Haiku 4.5, and then your average, so where each cost of those models stands versus your organizational average. And then you can also see some daily details. So for example, we could see here that for this production workloads, we reduced amount of output tokens here. So probably we implemented some improvement. Maybe we started to limit the models in terms of how chatty they are. Maybe we started to use some skills which actually summarize the answers or provide answers more concise. And you can also drill down into usage of each model in terms of up to resource level details, up to inference profiles, which regions we are using them in. And of course, you could see the usage, how many tokens you use in each region for which usage type. So all this available, as I just showed you, in a matter of few clicks. So that's why basically we think that customers who actually start to use AI workloads, it's very important for them to start tracking those kind of directional KPIs as cost per million tokens, maybe your usage of prompt caching and usage of batch inference, things which actually drive your cost effectiveness and improve cost effectiveness. And last thing is, because this all in Amazon Quick, which is AI-powered also business intelligence tool, you can customize any part of these dashboards. You can use them by default, but you can also change anything. So you can readjust your widgets, and you also can bring your metrics, your data here. You can bring your business data, or maybe your customer satisfaction score data, maybe your, metrics about your business efficiency, maybe count of customers and stuff like that, and correlate your AI spend with your business metrics, and actually to get into unit economics, which is super, super important for AI workloads, because everybody wants now to understand, is this spend worth it, right? Because AI spend is here, but is it worth it? What we get for it? And that's where you can actually bring this all together in BI tool in Quick and get into unit economics as well.
Thank you. That was beautiful demonstration. Dashboards are definitely fancy and useful to someone. These dashboards useful to someone who's aware of pricing dimensions. They know what to do. But what about engineers who are not usually FinOps experts? What's in it for them?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I think first of all, as I mentioned, cost should be part of non-functional requirements. So engineers should be at least generally aware about the cost dimensions and cost implication of what they build. It's not only about AI-based workloads; it's about everything. So, but obviously, FinOps is a discipline itself. You don't expect every engineer to learn all the pricing dimensions and stuff like that, because they have more things to do and more things to actually bear in mind into. But what actually we see that customers started to do, because Quick is AI service, right? So it has these agentic capabilities. And now when you have all your dashboards deployed, like Kudos, cost intelligence, KPI, maybe some others like cost optimization hub-based dashboards. So you have all this organizational data in one single place in Quick, and you also have you can consolidate data from even multiple organizations, and you have AI here, right? So you have your chat agents which you can use and have a chat with. So what I can actually can do now as an engineer, I can start asking questions like, here's I have some demo questions which I can show, but I can start asking questions like, what is my cost per million tokens by application in last 10 days? Or tell me what should I optimize, and maybe give me some recommendations of which actions should I take. And basically it starts to query all the data sets and dashboards and actually looks for the answers for you. And then it provides you details and breakdown of your spend and usage based on your just ask questions in plain English. So just for the sake of time, let me switch to my previous discussion just to show you how it looks like. So here I asked the question of cost per million tokens by application, and you can also see how it was reasoning about that. It was looking through some different data sets, in Quick and made some SQL queries to the datasets, and it came up with the cost per application, like customer support, chatbot, doc summarizer, something that we just saw on the dashboard. And then it actually calculated cost per million tokens. Then I asked what optimization techniques I can apply to reduce cost of customer support application. And it actually started to suggest things like route simple queries to cheaper models, shorten system prompt, you remove redundant content, enable prompt caching, and pretty much like it provided me some recommendations like reduce output tokens, set max tokens, and things like that, which is kind of FinOps best practices for Bedrock at the moment. And as you can see here, it provides some summary of my optimization techniques. Then I start asking about like my applications, if any of other applications using prompt caching, and it actually says that yes, doc summarizer uses prompt caching, but others are not using it. So how can I start using prompt caching? What should I do? And it actually provides me details and code snippets and examples. So to start using prompt caching, I need to actually add these cache points in my API calls. So as you can see, as a developer, I can just chat with it and get pretty much insights, not just what can I optimize, but how can I optimize? How can I put it in my code? What risks are associated with that? So it's really, really powerful and very handy to use because you already have all the data here. You already have your tags, your breakdown, and it's just another way how you can get insights out of the data.
Okay, it seems like easier to understand now. And do we have already signs that engineers are implementing those tools in practice, Raman?
Of course, and that's where we as AWS partners step in, right? So we help our customers to adopt these solutions and find the right way to utilize them and embed in their FinOps workflows. So the beauty of this specific cloud intelligent dashboard solution is it uses the Amazon Quick, which has the agentic capabilities, and both the dashboards and the recommendations that provided by the agent that we just saw is grounded in the same data set. It relies on exactly the same thing, which is very easy to enable on your in your AWS account. So for sure, there are signs. So today we have a scarce resource, which is token and tokens, and we have the variety of parameters that we can tune, prompt caching, model selection, different optimization techniques, and this approach and the cloud intelligent dashboards additional features gives us as an AWS partner an instrument to help AWS customers how to fine-tune, how to identify the waste in the AI spend, and how to make sense and answer on the bigger question, what is the return of investment of this AI usage? And as Yuri mentioned, does this spend worth, which is the most important one.
Great. We've covered quite an important information here that was quite grounded and informational talk. I've ran out of questions, so probably you have something that you want to add. If not, we will just wrap up.
Yeah, one more thing which I want to mention about basically AI for FinOps with cloud intelligence dashboards and Quick that what I showed, it's just basically chat capabilities. Where more interesting stuff can come from is you can integrate Quick with your different MCP servers, with your other tools, like, for example, Slack, with Jira, with maybe ServiceNow, SharePoint, basically all the different tools which your organization uses. And you can create in Quick also flows. And flows is basically a sequence of those agents which run different tasks on schedule and provide you insights. So it could be a flow of looking for some optimization opportunities and recommendations and sending you weekly report in Slack or via Outlook connection via email, preparing maybe some executive level presentations because Quick can generate PowerPoint slides as well. tracking some anomalies. And basically, you can automate a lot of routine tasks here as well. So I see a shift in the future from kind of manual reviews to automating this all different routine work with flows where actually would be handy, and that's what the goal of AI for FinOps is: reduce the amount of effort from people for this kind of routine tasks. So I just want to, as an next action step, to encourage everyone to just give it a try, deploy it in your accounts. It's all open source, and then let us know what you think about it.
Great. That was very practical discussion and useful, at least for me. Thank you, Yuri. Thank you, Roman. And let's meet on the next webinars.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lydia.